Chapter 1. It was just one night, and he was too good at it. Jack opened his eyes to unfamiliar ceiling tiles, pale gray and slightly cracked like a forgotten sky. The sheets beneath him smelled faintly of sandalwood and something more intimate: skin, sweat, and sin. His head throbbed, not with hangover pain, but with the sharp clarity that came after a decision you'd already promised not to regret. He turned slowly, his bare shoulder brushing against the body still beside him. Leo. Of course that was his name. It suited him, smooth, bold, and just dangerous enough. The man was sleeping on his stomach, the sheet pushed low enough to expose a tattoo that trailed down the dip of his spine like a secret waiting to be read. Golden brown hair spilled over the pillow in messy waves, and one strong arm curled around the fabric like it was Jack himself. Jack didn't let himself admire for long. Admiration led to feelings. Feelings led to chaos. And Jack didn't do chaos. Not anymore. He swung his legs off the bed, wincing when the cold floor met his toes. He located his jeans under a chair, his shirt on the lamp, seriously, the lamp, and his phone buried under one of Leo's boots. Quietly, efficiently, he dressed. Each button fastened was another step away from the night. A flash of memory hit him as he reached for the doorknob. The bar. It had started with a spilled drink. Jack had leaned over the bar to grab his gin and tonic. One drink, then home, that was the deal. When a tall man in a fitted black shirt reached for the same glass. "Yours?" the man had asked, smiling with easy confidence and green eyes that didn't match the cocky grin. There was something boyish about him, even with the tattoos and broad chest. "Was," Jack had replied, arching a brow. "Now it's 60% yours. Cheers." They had clinked glasses in mockery more than politeness, and Jack had fully intended to walk away. But the man, Leo, he'd later learned, followed. The conversation flowed like warm liquor. Banter turned into flirting. Flirting turned into a dare. And somewhere between the third round and a whispered, "Your place or mine," Jack had stopped pretending he didn't want it. He had rules, they'd both agreed. One night, no names past the first. No staying until morning. So why the hell did he feel like a thief sneaking out of something sacred? At the door, Jack paused, glanced back at Leo's sleeping form, and whispered under his breath, "Nice knowing you, mystery man." Then he was gone. Back in his apartment, Jack did what any emotionally avoidant gay man would do. Showered, made coffee strong enough to reanimate a corpse, and deleted the contact saved only last night as Leo. Hot mistake. Shh. He sat on the couch in a clean hoodie, hair still damp, flipping through emails he couldn't concentrate on. His phone buzzed. "Family dinner tonight, 7 p.m. Casual. No excuses." He groaned. His older sister had a gift for framing invitations like royal decrees. Jack typed back a simple K. That would appease her. Hopefully. Maybe. Still, the idea of seeing family laughing loud all up in his business grated. Not because he didn't love them, but because lately he didn't feel like himself. Not the version they liked. The buttoned-up, got-his-life-together Jack, who always had a funny comeback and a charming shrug. That Jack was tired. This Jack wanted a nap and a slice of pizza, and maybe a week of silence. But he'd go. Because Emily would show up at his door if he didn't. The dinner was at their parents' house, suburban beige with the smell of rosemary chicken wafting before Jack even knocked. He arrived 15 minutes late, on purpose. Less time for small talk, more chance for slipping out early. He pushed open the door and was immediately met with chaos. "Uncle Jack?" his niece Maisie squealed, tackling his legs. He scooped her up, her curls bouncing wildly as she babbled about glitter glue and cookies. "Hey, kiddo, you get taller since Tuesday?" She nodded solemnly. "I'm 4 now." Ah, a whole new woman. He set her down and stepped into the dining room and froze. Leo was there, sitting at the head of the table. Wearing a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled to the elbows, showing the edges of his tattoos. Laughing with Jack's mother. Holding a glass of wine like he belonged there. For a second, Jack's brain short-circuited. Maybe this was a different Leo. Maybe he just looked like the man who'd had him moaning into a pillow less than 48 hours ago. But then, Leo turned. Those green eyes sparkled with too much recognition to be coincidence. His smile curled slowly. Like sin. Like silk. "Jack," Emily called cheerfully from the kitchen. "You made it! Come meet Mark's cousin!" Too late. Leo raised his glass slightly, tilting it toward Jack like a dare. "Small world, huh?" Jack choked on air, eyes wide as his mom pulled him toward an empty seat, directly across from the very man he'd sworn never to see again. Emily leaned over and whispered, "He's hot, right? You should have seen Mark trying to play wingman earlier." Jack stared at his sister, then at Leo, who winked and took a casual sip of wine. He was going to die. Right here. Right at this table. And Leo was going to smile through the whole damn thing. Chapter 2. I can't tell if he's teasing me or trying to ruin my life. Jack was dying. Not in the dramatic, heartbreakingly poetic kind of way. No, he was dying in the slow, searing, stomach-cramping kind of way where his entire life had become a bad rom-com, and he was the punchline. Leo was across the table, laughing at one of Emily's dad jokes like he actually found it funny. His eyes sparkled every time he glanced in Jack's direction, which was far too often. He was charming, effortlessly warm, casually leaning on the table like he hadn't been the reason Jack had lost sleep for 2 nights straight. Jack stabbed his roasted potato like it owed him money. His mother, oblivious to the storm brewing in Jack's chest, placed more food on Leo's plate. "You've got an appetite, sweetheart. That's good. So many young men these days barely eat anything." Leo smiled graciously. "Your cooking is too good not to." Jack could feel the heat climbing his neck. "You okay, Jack?" Emily asked. "You look tense." "I'm fine," he bit out, voice a little too sharp for comfort. Leo leaned forward slightly. "He's probably just surprised to see how good I clean up." Jack nearly choked on his wine. "Oh, do you two know each other already?" Mark asked, chewing blissfully on a dinner roll. Jack scrambled for a lie. No, I mean, kinda. I think we were at the same trivia night once." Leo gave a mock thoughtful nod. "Right. I think we were on rival teams. He had very strong opinions about 80s movies." Jack kicked him under the table. Hard. Leo didn't even flinch. Bastard. Dinner trudged on in slow, torturous minutes. Jack barely tasted a thing. Between dodging glances and pretending he wasn't having flashbacks to Leo's hands on his hips, he was losing his grip. And then Maisie, sweet, oblivious, chaos-loving Maisie, stood up on her chair and shouted, "Leo, come play Princess Tea Party with me." Jack nearly groaned. "Please, no." Leo, on the other hand, smiled like he'd just been handed a winning lottery ticket. "Only if I get to wear a crown." "You can be Princess Sparklebutt," Maisie declared. "Finally," Leo said solemnly, "a title worthy of my legacy." The adults laughed. Jack stared at his plate like he could disappear into the mashed potatoes. Minutes later, Leo was seated on the floor with a plastic tiara on his head, pretending to sip invisible tea and complimenting Maisie's stuffed unicorn's dress. Jack should have been glad. Maybe this would finally show his family what a fraud Leo was. But no. They loved him. Grandma Rosa had already asked if he liked lasagna, which was basically a marriage proposal in her book. Jack clenched his jaw. Leo was fitting in too well. Too easily. It wasn't fair. As the evening wound down, Jack snuck into the kitchen, needing a break. He opened the fridge and stared inside like it held answers. A voice came behind him. "Looking for a way out? There's a window in the bathroom." Jack turned slowly, shutting the fridge door. Leo leaned against the doorframe, tiara slightly askew on his head, arms crossed, lips curled in amusement. He looked infuriatingly good. Jack hissed under his breath, "What the hell are you doing here?" Leo raised an eyebrow. "Did you miss the introduction? Mark's cousin. Moved into town? Family dinner. The whole rom-com setup." Jack took a step forward. "You knew this was my family?" Leo's smile faded, just slightly. "No, Jack. I didn't know you were this Jack until you walked through that door." Jack blinked. "Wait, seriously?" Leo's voice was calm. "Honest. I'm not playing a game. Believe me, if I had known, I probably would have worn a shirt that didn't smell like guilt and regret." Jack narrowed his eyes. "Then why are you acting so casual about all this?" Leo tilted his head. "Because I didn't expect the guy I had incredible sex with to turn out to be my cousin's boyfriend's little brother. What am I supposed to do? Run screaming into the street?" "That's not a terrible idea," Jack muttered. Leo chuckled. "You've got a real gift for hostility, you know that?" Jack's hand twitched toward the sink like he might start throwing dishes. "We had a deal. One night, no strings." Leo took a step closer. "Then why do you look so rattled?" Jack opened his mouth, then closed it. His silence gave everything away. Leo leaned in, dropping his voice. "Relax. I'm not going to tell anyone. This can stay our little secret." Jack nodded once, stiff. "Fine. We pretend it never happened." Sure, Leo said. But fair warning, I don't think your niece got that memo. Princess Sparklebutt is kind of attached, Jack groaned. They returned to the dining room just in time for family charades. Jack tried to blend into the couch, praying to every cosmic force that he wouldn't be paired with Leo. Of course, the universe was cruel and had a sick sense of humor. Team Jack and Leo, Maisie shouted. They have matching hair. They did not. Jack reluctantly stood beside Leo, arms folded. Don't talk to me, Leo whispered. Hard to do that when I'm supposed to guess what you're miming. It didn't help that Leo kept standing too close. Their arms brushed. Their hips bumped. At one point, Jack was on all fours pretending to be a dog, and Leo leaned down and whispered, You're cute like this, Jack hissed. I will bite you. Leo grinned. By the end of the game, Jack was vibrating with tension. He managed to avoid another conversation and slipped out while Emily was helping Mom with dessert. He didn't even say goodbye. That night, Jack sat on his couch, nursing a glass of wine and glaring at the ceiling. His phone buzzed. Jack stared at the screen. His thumb hovered over the keyboard. He typed, then deleted. Typed again. Deleted again. Finally, he set the phone down face first and exhaled through his teeth. He wouldn't reply. That night, he dreamed of hands on his back and a voice whispering, You can't keep running forever. The next morning, Jack was halfway through pouring cereal when Emily walked into his apartment. He blinked at her, groggy and unshaven. You've heard of knocking, right? I texted you 5 minutes ago. Jack checked his phone. She had. 3 times. What do you want? He asked, reaching for milk. Emily sat at his kitchen island, legs crossed. So, you and Leo seemed familiar. Jack's hand froze mid-pour. He recovered quickly, placing the milk down. We played charades for 20 minutes. Emily tilted her head. That's not what I meant. Jack turned slowly. What do you mean? She smirked knowingly. The eye contact. The tension. The kicking under the table. Jack blanched. You saw that? Jack, she said patiently, I'm not blind. I know you. And I know that face you made when he walked in, like the universe punched you in the stomach. He gripped the edge of the counter. Emily softened. You don't have to tell me anything, but if you like him... I don't, Jack interrupted. Too fast. Too sharp. Emily just raised an eyebrow. Jack rubbed his forehead. It was... nothing, okay? He's not my type. What's your type? Again? She asked sweetly. Mysterious and emotionally unavailable? Jack groaned. Emily stood and kissed his cheek. Just be careful. And maybe don't look at him like you're about to jump him at the dinner table next time. She left with a wink. Jack stood there, cereal soggy in the bowl, heart thudding in a rhythm he didn't want to name, and he was no closer to figuring out if Leo was teasing him, or if this was the beginning of something he couldn't control. Chapter 3. The fake distance is getting real hard to keep up. Jack wasn't supposed to be the point person for the gala. That was Greg's job, the firm's overly enthusiastic intern who believed events ran on positive vibes and a Pinterest board. But Greg had come down with food poisoning, or maybe he just panicked under pressure, and now Marcia, Jack's boss, and the sharpest woman in a 4-mile radius, had assigned Jack to oversee the whole thing. Just make sure no one trips on the sound cables and no donors sue us, she'd said that morning, already halfway out the door in her red heels. And don't glare at the volunteers. We like them. Jack stood in the middle of the community center's banquet room, adjusting the place cards on the linen-draped tables. Everything smelled like polished wood and too much perfume. The gala hadn't even started, and he already needed a nap. Then came the voice. Smooth, familiar. The kind that made his spine tighten and his jaw follow. Wow, you look almost like you're enjoying this. Jack turned. Leo, wearing jeans, a rolled-up button-down, and carrying a stack of donation brochures, of all things. His golden brown hair was messier than usual, his forearms already ink-smudged from marker labels. Jack's stomach did a slow, traitorous flip. What the hell are you doing here? Jack snapped. Leo grinned. Volunteering. Mark roped me into it. Something about needing someone photogenic with people skills. I'm going to murder him, Jack muttered. You say that, Leo said, dropping the brochures on the volunteer table, but your mom might frown on homicide at a charity event. Before Jack could reply, a shrill voice cut through the air. Jack! Who's that? Marcia, impeccably dressed, sipping from her branded travel mug like it held the meaning of life. Jack sighed. That's Leo, Mark's cousin. Marcia's eyes lit up. He's adorable. Can he work the greeting table with the donors? Maybe flirt a few wallets open? Leo smiled like he'd won the lottery. I'd be happy to. Jack rolled his eyes. I'll keep an eye on him. Good, Marcia said, breezing past. Because if he breaks anything, it's coming out of your paycheck. An hour later, Jack was regretting every decision that had led to this moment. Leo was thriving. He had the donor wives laughing, the sponsors charmed, and 2 of the caterers blushing. Jack was convinced he could charm a lamppost if he wanted to. It didn't help that Jack kept catching himself watching. It was the way Leo tugged at his collar when he got flustered, or how he knelt down to help a kid tie his shoe with the kind of patience Jack had never had. Or maybe it was the fact that every time their eyes met across the room, Leo didn't look away. Jack hated how warm it made him feel. Then came the tux incident. They were in the storage room behind the main hall, digging through garment bags for the MC's backup suit when Leo grabbed the wrong one. I think this one's mine, he said, halfway through putting it on. The jacket wouldn't fit. Or rather, it would have, if Leo hadn't yanked it too fast and gotten his arm stuck halfway through the sleeve. Jack turned, took one look, and burst out laughing. Need help, Princess Sparklebutt? Leo narrowed his eyes. 1, don't call me that. 2, this is not funny. Jack crossed his arms, still chuckling. You look like you lost a fight with a magician's closet. Leo tried to wiggle free. Okay, stop enjoying this and help me. Sighing, Jack stepped closer and gripped the twisted fabric, fingers brushing Leo's wrist. The moment stilled. They were close, too close. Jack pulled gently, untangling the sleeve with practiced hands. His fingers skimmed Leo's chest accidentally, and he felt the shift in the air like a static charge. Their eyes met. Neither of them moved. Leo's voice, when it came, was low. I still think about that night. Jack's breath caught. We said no attachment, he replied, almost too fast. Leo's eyes flickered to his mouth. You said that. I never agreed. Jack stepped back like he'd been burned. We're at a charity event, he said stiffly. Try not to ruin it. Leo didn't push. He simply smiled, softer now. You're the one who always runs, Jack. But I'm not chasing, just showing up. Jack didn't respond. Couldn't. He did his best to avoid Leo for the rest of the evening. It wasn't easy. Leo kept appearing, serving drinks, helping a frazzled volunteer, holding a baby someone had thrust into his arms like he was a human jungle gym. Every time Jack looked, Leo was doing something that made him look good. Worse than that, real. Not a mistake. Not a one-night stand. Not a fleeting moment Jack could shove into the shadows. The next morning, Jack tried to recover with strong coffee and his usual avoidance strategy, ignoring everything. Unfortunately, Emily had other plans. Family brunch, she announced. We're trying out that garden cafe Mom likes. You're coming. No, You owe me for covering your ass at Thanksgiving when you claimed you were deathly ill but were actually on a date with that Pilates instructor. Jack groaned. Fine, but if they put lemon in my pancakes again, I'm setting the place on fire. He showed up late, again on purpose, and immediately regretted it. Leo was already there. Holding a bouquet of wildflowers, Jack nearly turned around and walked right back out. Leo caught his eye and smiled. Morning sunshine. Go away, Jack muttered, sliding into a chair beside Grandma Rosa, who smelled like lavender and subtle judgment. Leo handed the flowers to Emily. For the bride-to-be. Oh, Emily said, clearly melting. You didn't have to. Jack sipped his coffee aggressively. The brunch unfolded in predictable chaos. Maisie spilling syrup, Mark telling long stories no one asked for, Leo helping Rosa with her chair like a perfect gentleman. Jack was silent. At one point, Rosa leaned toward him, patting his hand. You like that boy, don't you? Jack blinked. What? She smiled. You watch him like your heart's waiting for permission. I what? Grandma? She just hummed and sipped her tea. Later, as they stood by the parking lot saying goodbye, Jack hung back. Leo stood beside Mark's car, phone pressed to his ear, turned slightly away. Jack wasn't trying to eavesdrop, really, but the words drifted clearly on the breeze. Yeah, I'm still here, Leo said softly. No, I can't leave yet. There's someone I'm trying not to fall in love with. Jack's breath hitched. Leo went quiet, nodding at something the person on the other end said. His shoulders looked tense, a hand running through his hair. Jack turned away before he could hear more. His heart was pounding for all the wrong reasons. And maybe some of the right ones. Chapter 4. Why do you keep showing up in all the places I don't want you but need you? Jack hated being sick, not just because his body turned against him, his brain went foggy and everything ached, but because being sick meant vulnerability. And Jack hated nothing more than needing anyone. He lay curled on his couch, burning up under 2 blankets but still shivering. The TV flickered in the background, playing something he wasn't watching. His phone buzzed from the coffee table, but he didn't bother checking it. It was probably Emily, or Mark, or his boss, or some cursed group chat filled with well-meaning chaos. He didn't want anyone. Except the knock on the door. Jack frowned. He hadn't ordered anything, and no one in his life ever knocked. Emily barged. Mark called first, and Grandma Rosa announced herself with an opera-worthy, "It's Nana." The knock came again. Jack dragged himself off the couch, wobbling slightly, and shuffled to the door. He opened it, ready to yell, and froze. Leo stood there, hair damp from the shower, a container of soup in one hand, a bag of crackers in the other, and a gentle, knowing look on his face. "Seriously?" Jack rasped. Leo stepped inside without waiting for permission, shutting the door behind him. "You sound like you've been gargling gravel." Jack turned, dragging the blanket tighter around him. "How do you even know where I live?" Leo raised a brow. "You used my Uber account that night. I never deleted the drop-off location. Also, Emily." "Traitor," Jack muttered. Leo ignored that. "Soup. Sit." Jack didn't argue. He didn't have the energy. 20 minutes later, he was propped on the couch, sipping warm broth while Leo adjusted the throw pillows like he owned the place. Jack watched him through half-lidded eyes. "You don't have to stay." Leo tilted his head. "You said that last time." "That was different." Leo sat beside him, not touching, but close enough Jack could feel the heat of him. "No, it wasn't." Jack closed his eyes, letting the silence settle. Outside, a bird chirped. Somewhere, a car honked. Leo's voice came low. "I used to get sick a lot when I was a kid. Stress, mostly. Anxiety. You'd be surprised how much a 6-year-old can internalize when he keeps getting handed off like a bad book." Jack blinked. "Foster homes?" Leo nodded. 15, give or take. Some better than others. One had a dog. One let me read late. One locked the fridge. Jack turned his head. "Jesus." Leo shrugged. "It's just what it was. But I got good at disappearing. Didn't take up space. Didn't get attached." Jack's throat tightened. "You're good at being with people, though. You make it look easy." "I learned how to be likable," Leo said quietly. "Not the same as being known." Jack stared at him. Leo glanced over, smile small. "But that night with you, I didn't have to try. I didn't want to." Silence fell between them again, and Jack, for the first time, didn't want to fill it. His voice came rough. "I don't do soft, or safe, or needed. I'm scared if someone makes me their soft spot, I won't survive if they stop." Leo looked at him like the truth didn't scare him at all. "You already are mine." Jack's breath caught. Leo's hand moved, brushing gently against Jack's forehead, sweeping back a strand of hair. His fingers lingered. They leaned in at the same time, eyes searching, breath mingling. But Jack turned away at the last second. He couldn't. Not yet. Leo didn't push. He simply exhaled, gently tucked the blanket higher on Jack's chest, and whispered, "Sleep." When Jack woke the next morning, sunlight was leaking through the blinds, birds chirping like a cartoon movie. But the spot beside him on the couch was empty. Leo was gone. Only a folded note remained on the coffee table beside the soup container. Jack picked it up with trembling fingers. "You don't have to run. I'm not chasing, just waiting." Jack pressed the note to his lips, then dropped it like it burned. Later that week, Emily cornered him at the grocery store. She was radiant, glowing in that "I'm about to tell you something that will completely ruin your quiet life" kind of way. "Mark proposed," she blurted, nearly knocking over a cereal display. Jack blinked. "Wait, really? Like, actually?" She held up her hand. The ring glittered like something out of a jewelry commercial. "He asked over pancakes. I said yes before the syrup cooled." Jack grinned despite himself. "You guys are disgustingly cute." Emily beamed. "We're having a surprise engagement dinner next weekend. Mom thinks it's a casual family gathering. You're helping me plan it." Jack groaned. "Why do I always get roped into?" "And," she continued, cutting him off, "Leo's helping too." Jack stared. "Why?" "Because he's good with people, and I like him, and you get all weird when he's around, which makes me deeply suspicious." "I am not weird." Emily gave him a look. Jack sighed. Fine, but if he tries to kiss me again... Emily's eyebrows flew up. Again? Jack clamped his mouth shut. Forget I said that. The dinner was a circus. Jack helped hang string lights around the backyard while Leo managed the playlist and charmed Grandma Rosa into spilling her best family recipes. The air smelled like grilled vegetables and cinnamon cake, laughter drifting through the house like music. Everyone buzzed with energy. No one suspected a thing. Jack tried to stay out of Leo's orbit, but the man was magnetic. He moved through the party like he belonged in all the spaces Jack had tried to wall off. When Jack tripped on a tangled light cord, Leo caught his elbow. "Careful," he said softly. "You okay?" Jack looked at him, and for the first time, he didn't feel the urge to snap or retreat. "Yeah," he said. "Thanks." The guests settled. Plates clinked. The family gathered in a warm, noisy circle, and then Leo stood, glass in hand, shirt sleeves rolled, collar undone. His eyes found Jack's before he spoke. "I wasn't supposed to be here," Leo began, voice clear and sure. "I wasn't supposed to meet any of you. This dinner, this table, this family, it wasn't in my plan." Everyone quieted. Jack's heart thumped. "But now," Leo continued, eyes soft and bright, "I can't imagine not being." Jack's chest ached in the strangest, most terrifyingly hopeful way. His hand curled around the edge of the table, because for once, he didn't want to run. Chapter 5. Everyone knows but me, or maybe I knew all along. Jack pushed away from the dinner table so fast his chair nearly toppled. No one stopped him, not even Emily, who always noticed everything, because the silence that followed Leo's toast was heavy and stunned. He didn't stop moving until he was out of the backyard and halfway down the block. The night air was warm and thick, pressing against his skin like a second layer of judgment. His pulse raced. His breath came uneven. Why the hell did Leo have to say that? Why did he have to look at him with those eyes, like Jack was a miracle instead of a mistake? Jack hated that he couldn't tell if he was angry or terrified or some awful combination of the two. His heart had been pounding ever since Leo said the words, "I wasn't supposed to be here, but now I can't imagine not being." It wasn't fair. Jack had rules. Space, distance, clear, clean boundaries. And Leo just kept stepping over them like they were invitations. He didn't sleep that night. Didn't eat the next day. Emily showed up anyway. She let herself in with the key she wasn't supposed to have anymore and found Jack curled on his couch, staring blankly at a show he'd muted 30 minutes ago. "Want to talk about it?" she asked. "Nope," Jack muttered. She flopped beside him. "Tough, because I'm going to talk, and you're going to listen." Jack didn't move. Emily sighed. "Why are you running from someone who looks at you like that?" "Like what?" he asked hollowly. "Like your gravity, like staying would never be a question." Jack closed his eyes. "Because I don't know how to hold that kind of weight." Emily leaned her head on his shoulder. "Maybe you don't have to hold it alone." 3 days passed. Jack didn't hear from Leo. No texts, no calls, no sarcastic remarks or late-night messages that made his heart race. At first it was a relief. Then it was unsettling. By the third day, it was unbearable. He found himself staring at Leo's last message. Just waiting. The silence had started to feel like loss. So Jack did the one thing he'd been avoiding. He showed up. The nonprofit Leo worked at was tucked between a flower shop and a dusty bookstore. A faded sign read, "Bright Steps Foundation," in cheerful hand-painted letters. Jack hesitated outside, nerves buzzing like static under his skin. When he stepped inside, the space smelled like markers, coffee, and old carpet. A volunteer waved at him cheerfully. Jack barely returned it. His eyes scanned until he found Leo, sitting at a desk in the back, sorting donation forms. He looked calm, focused, unbothered. Jack hated how steady he looked without him. Leo looked up. Their eyes met. He didn't smile, didn't speak, just waited. Jack walked over slowly, hands buried in his hoodie pocket. "Hey, hey," Leo said softly. Jack swallowed. "You disappeared." "I figured you needed space," Leo replied, standing. "I wanted to give it without slamming the door." Jack nodded, looking down at his shoes. "I didn't think you'd actually leave." "I didn't," Leo said. "I just stepped back." Silence. Jack finally looked up, eyes raw. "You said you weren't chasing, that you were waiting. Why?" Leo's gaze didn't waver. "Because I won't apologize for loving you." The words knocked the air out of Jack's lungs. Leo took a small step closer. "You don't have to say it back, but I needed you to know. I'm not playing a part. I'm not pretending." Jack's voice trembled. I keep pretending we're not something because I don't know how to be something. Leo reached out, brushing a hand against Jack's. Then let's figure it out together. Jack nodded, tiny, hesitant, but it was enough. Leo leaned in slowly, carefully until their lips met. It wasn't explosive, it wasn't desperate, it was steady. A kiss that said, "You can trust me." Jack melted into it. They didn't speak much on the way back to Jack's apartment. The air was thick with everything unsaid and everything felt. Inside, Leo dropped his bag by the door. Jack locked it behind them. Neither reached for the lights. They didn't need to. Jack turned to face Leo, chest rising and falling fast. This doesn't feel like just sex. Leo stepped forward, tracing Jack's jaw with one finger. That's because it isn't. Jack's breath caught. He reached up, slid his hands under Leo's shirt, and finally let go. The tension snapped between them like a rubber band pulled too far. Clothes were discarded in a trail from the hallway to the bedroom. Leo kissed down Jack's spine, his touch both reverent and possessive, like he was memorizing the shape of him. Jack gasped when Leo's hands slid along his waist, when lips met skin, when every soft breath became a promise he hadn't known he needed. They didn't rush. It wasn't about control or proving something. It was slow, exploratory, hungry, but careful. Jack clung to Leo's shoulders, burying his face in his neck. Leo whispered Jack's name like it was sacred, like it belonged to him. Their bodies moved together like they were learning how to speak in a new language, one only they understood. Afterward, tangled in sheets and limbs, Leo brushed his lips across Jack's temple. Jack didn't flinch. He let himself stay. Leo shifted slightly, pulling Jack closer until his head rested over Leo's heart. Jack listened to the rhythm beneath his ear. Solid. Unshakable. For the first time in years, Jack didn't feel like he had to run when it got good. He didn't feel like he was falling. He felt like he had already landed. Leo's lips moved against the curve of Jack's neck. Still just one night? He whispered. Jack smiled into the dark. Not even close. Chapter 6. My family thinks he's already part of the family, and maybe he is. Jack didn't do hand-holding in public, or so he used to think. But here he was, fingers interlaced with Leo's, walking through the gates of the very same garden venue where his sister's wedding announcement party was being held, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. It wasn't. Not really. It was absurd when he thought about it, how far they'd come. From a one-night stand, Jack was determined to forget to this moment, arriving together, palms pressed and knuckles brushing, his family waiting ahead with champagne glasses and warm smiles. Leo squeezed his hand once. A silent "you okay?" Jack looked over. Leo was in a soft gray button-down and dress pants, hair brushed back in a way that somehow made him look even more unfairly handsome. But it was the smile, gentle, steady, meant only for him, that did it. Jack exhaled. Yeah, I'm good. Together, they stepped into the string-lit courtyard where laughter and jazz music wove between the tables. Emily and Mark stood under an archway draped in white roses, beaming like they were already halfway married. Grandma Rosa spotted them first and waved them over with all the excitement of a queen greeting her favorite nobles. Look at you two, she said, eyes misty as she hugged them. Holding hands like you belong together. Jack blinked. We're not. She held up a hand. I'm old, not blind. Before Jack could stammer through a protest, she reached into her handbag and pulled out a small velvet box. Leo opened it slowly, eyebrows lifting as he revealed a simple silver ring, old but polished, engraved with initials too faded to read. It was my brother's, Rosa said softly. The first person I ever knew who loved like you two, back when it wasn't easy. He'd be happy to see this. Leo looked stunned, genuinely, silently stunned. His mouth parted, but no words came. Jack stepped in, gently closing the box and curling Leo's fingers around it. Thank you, he said quietly, voice thick. That means more than you know. Rosa patted both their hands. Just don't lose each other. Inside the main hall, the two spent the next hour decorating tables, dodging overenthusiastic cousins, and trying not to kill each other over centerpieces. No, the lantern goes left of the floral arrangement. Jack said for the third time. Leo stood back, arms crossed. Who decided that? The lantern police? It's about balance. You're about balance. Jack narrowed his eyes. That doesn't even make sense. Leo leaned forward and kissed him mid-rant, cutting off the bickering completely. When he pulled back, Jack blinked, dazed. You cheat. You love it, Leo said, grinning. Jack rolled his eyes. Unfortunately, by the time the party started, the venue had transformed into something magical. String lights blinked overhead, candles flickered on every table, and laughter bubbled around the room like champagne. Emily stood to give her toast halfway through dinner. She cleared her throat, glass raised. Mark and I just want to thank everyone for being here, and especially thank the two people who helped us throw this together in record time. She turned to Jack and Leo, eyes shining. My little brother, who keeps pretending he's not the softest person in the world. And Leo, who's somehow already family. Jack felt the eyes, the smiles, the warmth. Leo reached under the table and took his hand again. And this time, Jack didn't care who saw. Later, as the crowd drifted into dancing and conversations, Jack tugged Leo out the side door and into the garden. The lights outside twinkled like stars strung just for them. They walked in silence for a moment, gravel crunching under their shoes. Jack stopped near the edge of the lawn and looked up at the glowing bulbs above. We were never supposed to see each other again. Leo leaned in, shoulder against his. Then I guess the universe knew better. Jack smiled. Annoying, isn't it? Leo laughed, low and warm. A little, but worth it. Jack turned to face him fully. You scare the hell out of me, you know that? I know. I still don't know what I'm doing. That's okay, Leo said. I do. And he kissed him. Not to silence him this time. Not to prove anything. Just because he wanted to. Back at the house, long after the last guests left and the lights were dimmed, Jack pulled Leo upstairs. Quiet, hurried, giddy. They slipped into Jack's old bedroom, a space that hadn't changed much since high school. The posters were still tacked to the walls, the desk still piled with old notebooks and a forgotten trophy or two. Leo looked around with a grin. You had glow-in-the-dark stars? Don't judge me, Jack muttered, tugging off his tie. Leo stepped forward, unbuttoning Jack's shirt one slow press at a time. Not judging, just imagining you here, who you were before I met you. Jack kissed him to shut him up. They fell back onto the bed, half-dressed, laughing between kisses. Jack's hands found Leo's hips, his back, his neck. Leo's fingers tangled in Jack's hair, sliding under his shirt, warm and firm, and exactly where they belonged. Clothes were peeled away with lingering touches. Leo's lips mapped every inch of Jack's skin like he was memorizing it. Their lovemaking was different this time. No sharp edges, no masks, just mouths whispering I love yous into each other's skin. Movements slow and knowing and full of wonder. Afterward, Jack lay on his side, cheek pressed to Leo's chest. The room smelled like sweat and safety. Like a new beginning. Leo ran his fingers through Jack's hair. I think your family likes me more than you do, he murmured. Jack laughed softly. They just have better taste. Leo kissed his temple. Jack sighed, content and raw and whole. You're staying tonight, right? Leo smiled. I'm not going anywhere. Jack closed his eyes. They never planned for forever, but somehow it found them anyway.